Hi everyone, it's Ryan. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be showing you how I make Oreo cheesecakes. Alright, so like I said, today I'm going to be showing you how I make Oreo cheesecake. This is my favorite kind of cheesecake to make and eat, so I am going to show you how I do that. We have a potluck tomorrow at work, so I decided this would be the perfect thing to take. This is my half cheesecake recipe base. So I did half this one. I will put the full recipe in the description below. So in my mixer, I have two 8-ounce packages of cream cheese, and I'm going to be adding 3/4 of a cup of just plain sugar. We're going to get that on the mixer. I am using a stand mixer. You could use just like a hand mixer if you wanted to. You just want to make sure that your sugar is very much room temperature, as well as your sour cream, eggs, and milk. That will make mixing much easier. So I'm going to put this on the mixer until it is pretty fluffy and you don't really have too much graininess from the sugar. And we are just full of bloopers on this channel lately. Make sure your bowl is attached to your mixer. Okay, now turn your mixer on. I am going to go ahead already and scrape the bowl down because, as you can see, I do have my scraper attachment on, but it is not doing the greatest job. And down here at the bottom of the bowl, there is a lot of sugar that's just been caked on down there. So just going to scrape that really well. And I've noticed when I'm editing my videos lately, I always have a piece of something next to me when I'm baking normally, but in my videos, I'm like, oh no, something else to take up space. But then I end up like awkwardly putting it in some container off to the side, and it usually falls over. So I'm like, no, just go ahead, get a piece of wax paper, put your spatula on it so it stays off the counter so it doesn't get the counter all dirty. So now we're going to put this back on and mix it a little longer. Okay, that's been mixing for a couple minutes, so it is much softer now. So I am just going to scrape the bowl down, and then while the mixer is running, I'm going to add in slowly. Make sure your mixer is on a stir speed. Mine, if you've been here a while, you know. This mixer is old. This is my mom's original KitchenAid. So this one doesn't really have a stir speed anymore. So we're gonna turn it on as slow as possible, hope for the best, and we're gonna pour the milk in slowly. Okay, I'm gonna stop, scrape the bowl again. It doesn't look the greatest at the moment. Looks like it may have separated a little, but it didn't. It is just fine. Just scraping to get everything off the bottom. See, there's still chunks of cream cheese, so it's not all mixed together. So we're going to turn it on again. Now we're going to add 2 eggs. And I forgot to tell you how much milk that was. So because this is my half recipe, the amounts are a little odd. So this was a 1/4 cup plus 1/8 of a cup of milk. And then we're going to add 2 eggs. Okay, that's mixed nicely. So now we're going to add a half a cup of sour cream. You can use light sour cream if you want to. This is just regular sour cream. So excited to make this. So this one, I'm also not, I guess, doing it how you would make a traditional cheesecake. I'm not going to use a springform pan. I do have my oven preheating to 350, and I have a sheet pan in there that has water in it. So we're also not doing a hot water bath, but we are creating steam in the oven to hopefully help prevent cracking on the top. So I am going to mix in this sour cream. Okay, now we need a half a tablespoon of vanilla. Okay, now I'm just gonna scrape and kind of mix that vanilla in. You can turn your mixer on if you want to. To mix the vanilla in, scrape the bowl. Make sure you get everything off of your paddle in case you have any leftover bits of cream cheese on there. Okay, now we are going to add, because the measurements are weird, I need an eighth of a cup. I cannot find my words today. I need an eighth of a cup of flour, and this is just all-purpose flour. So an eighth of a cup is 2 tablespoons. So I'm just going to add 2 tablespoons of all-purpose flour. That's going to help kind of bind everything together. So do this slowly. I'm going to pulse the mixer so it doesn't fly everywhere. Just let it mix. Okay, I don't really see any flour chunks in there. So we are going to add in our crushed Oreos. And for this, I am not using name brand Oreos. I am just using whatever the store brand sandwich cookies are. So I just put these in a food processor. This is about, I believe it was 36 cookies. So I put them in a food processor and processed them until they were pretty much crumbs. So now we need a quarter cup plus an eighth of a cup of these. And if you want yours to have a little more of that Oreo flavor, add a little bit more. Like right there, I just added a heaping quarter cup, and then I'm just going to use this for a half a cup, or half of a quarter cup. Y'all, I'm sorry. I would redo this, but I already added the Oreos to it, so I can't take that back. So just bear with me. I'm finding my words today. Okay, so I'm going to mix this to mix the Oreos in. Okay, that is all mixed together. So now we are done with the mixer. Push that out of my way. Ooh, try to get the bowl off. So next up, we need to make the crust. So the crust is just going to be the crushed up Oreos and butter. So I'm going to melt a quarter of a cup of butter. Clearly I can't talk and do things at the same time. So I'm going to melt a quarter cup of butter in the microwave, and then I'll tell you the rest of the crust recipe here in just a second. Okay, so for our crust, I have a quarter cup of melted butter just in this 4-cup glass measuring cup. So I'm going to add 1.5 cups of the crushed Oreo crumbs. And then we are just going to mix this up. Grab a fork. Just mix this up until all of the butter is distributed. Like I said, this is the same recipe as, this is the same base recipe as my normal cheesecake. So in my normal cheesecake, this would be graham crackers. And I'm going to add, these look, I don't know if you can see, but they look a little greasy. So I'm going to add just a few more. Everything's better with butter, but that was maybe a bit much. My eyes might not have been working when I cut the stick of butter in half. All right, so like I said, this is not going to be a traditional cheesecake in the sense that I'm not doing it in a springform pan. So I just have a deep pie dish here because it's pretty. I'm taking it to work, so I want it to look nice. So I'm going to put majority of these Oreo crumbs. We'll go ahead and do the whole thing because sometimes the crust is the best part of a cheesecake. I'm just going to use my fork to kind of pat these down. And I do kind of want them to go up the side a little bit. So as I'm pushing it out. So it goes up the side just a little. This has always been my favorite cheesecake to make. It is delicious. And my husband requests this one frequently. Okay, you could use a spoon, your hand, or whatever for this part. Okay. Now, this may be too much of the cheesecake batter for this pan. So just know that you do need a tall pan. And if it is, you can always make some more crust and make cupcakes. Not really cupcakes, but cheesecake cupcakes out of it. So we are just going to add it until it is 3/4 of the way full. Stop there. Spread it around. I don't have that much batter left, but I think it might be just too much and make it overflow. So I'm going to stop there. This is going in a 350-degree oven. Like I said, I have a sheet pan in there with water, so it's creating steam in the oven right now. This is going to go in, I'm going to start it at 45 minutes and then we'll continue checking it. You want it to be pretty set. So I will come back and show you what that looks like. Okay, while that cooks, I got out one of my little mini aluminum pie pans to use up the rest of this. So we will have a little treat after dinner tonight. So I just made a little bit of crust. No real recipe for this one. I just winged it. Just press it down in there. Perfect. If I had enough to make 2 of these, that would be perfect because let's face it, I want to eat this entire thing myself, but I'll try to make 2 servings out of it so he can have some. So while we wait on these to cook, I am going to make sort of a ganache. I don't have heavy cream because I forgot to grab some. So we're going to try to make some with regular milk. Okay, these are both done. This one took about 15-20 minutes in the oven. As you can see, this one got a little dark around the edge. So if you did want to put this in a hot water bath, it would help the edges cook a little more evenly. But this is going to be covered in a ganache. I'm not going to garnish this one today because it's still warm. This one is still slightly warm, but we're going to eat this tonight. So this I'm going to put in the fridge and let cool overnight, and then in the morning I would put the ganache on it. This one, like I said, I'm going to do now. So behind me I have a saucepan on the stove with some water to make a hot water bath. And I'm going to move the camera over there and we will make that. All right, so we are going to make the ganache. And I just have a little pan here with some water that's going to boil. And then in here I have 4 ounces of milk chocolate. You can use whatever kind of chocolate you want. I just happen to have some of these lying around. And then I have a 1/4 cup of milk. Like I said, I do not have heavy cream, so we are going to make this one with just plain 2% milk. So I'm going to let this sit here and warm up, and the chocolate will melt. The milk will get hot, and then we're going to add some butter to it. And the butter is going to make a really shiny, pretty ganache. So I am going to speed through this while this happens. This is not the proper whisk to use for this either, but it's the smallest whisk type thing that I have. So I am going to use it, and it will be just fine. So like I said, I'm going to speed through this as this melts and then come back as it's finishing up. All right, so the chocolate has all melted. I'm going to take this out and get a spatula because it will be a little bit easier. Okay, now I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of butter. We're just going to let that melt while it's still over the hot water. Even though the burner is off, it's still going to be heating this bowl. All right, I grabbed a little bit of vanilla. We're just going to put just a little splash of vanilla in here. That continues to melt the butter. Then once the butter's completely melted, we're going to take this off of the double boiler and put it on the countertop. Now, if you have stone countertop, great. If you do not, put it on like a trivet or something. You want it to cool a little bit before you just pour it over top, because this is a very thin ganache right now. It needs to cool a little bit, and then it will set up nicely to put on top of the cheesecake. All right. So I'm just going to set this off to the side, let that cool a little bit, and then we will garnish in just a second. Okay, so I ended up popping this in the refrigerator for a little bit just to cool it down a little faster. And as you can see, it is quite a bit thicker. So I am just going to pour this over top, and because this is in a pan, it's going to be much easier than trying to make sure that it stays on top of a cheesecake on like a springform pan or something that you'd popped out. So I am going to put this in the fridge, let it set up, and then I will show you what it looks like. Okay, so this has been sitting in the fridge for a little bit, not long enough, so when you see this, it is not quite, the ganache is not quite set up enough, but I cannot wait any longer. I want to eat some cheesecake. So I shouldn't even cut it, because you can't even tell where I cut it with the ganache. So I'm just gonna go around the edge. And the one in the regular pan will scoop much easier than this. There's the cheesecake, nice and set. It's not moving at all. So excited. Let me know in the comments if you try this recipe. Thanks for watching.